Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome to Dump and Chase, the Ultimate Hockey Podcast. Here on the net, do you want it? Do you need it? The trade deadline has gone past us. I'm your host, JT, along with Mr. Islander, Double A.
It's always good to be back talking hockey, and I'm glad to see that our bearded buddy is back for the second week in a row.
And the heartbreaker, Mr. Mike Hart.
If your house got robbed, it was not me. Although I look like every suspect in the United States right now.
That's amazing. So, guys, let's get right to it. I got it. The Twitter banter has been just amazing the last couple of days. It's some of it's hysterical, some of it is actually pretty good. But let's get to, first of all, before the trade deadline, we still have to go over some stuff for last week because we go off the air on Wednesday. The Rangers and Islanders play St. Paddy's Day. It was a terrific game. It was a playoff game. I don't like it, but it was a great game to watch. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. Go to Mike. I think Sorokin really stole the game for the Islanders. I thought the Rangers played good enough to win. I'll get to Panarin later. I will get to Panarin later. But Mike, what do you really think about the game Thursday real quick?
I think the Rangers played a very good game. I think Sorokin stood on his head. That, as you said, John, it's a playoff game. And the good thing from a Ranger standpoint is physically they can stand up to that type of game now. And that was even before the trade deadline. Yeah. That was a good game. Give Sorokin credit and give the Islanders credit for scoring late in the game. But you can't say the Rangers played a bad game. That's all.
I'm not going to say that at all. Double A, you're grinning with appeasement. What do you think? Of course, you won, so you're happy.
Well,
you're happy
look,
camper.
in a year that has been very frustrating and pulling your hair out kind of year, to be able to ruin a Ranger fan St. Patrick's Day was a little solace that I'll take. But agree to what you guys have said. Sorokin stole it. That absolutely, he robbed Panarin. He robbed Chris Kreider. And look, Shesterkin didn't play bad. It's like you said, it was a great game to watch.
It was like a playoff game.
Really but, when you don't have, we say it all the time, when you don't have a dog in the fight, it's a good game to watch. But, the Islanders got a couple of timely goals. The goal by Palmieri was big. But, it was a game where if you're an objective hockey fan, which that night we're not, you would hate to see anybody lose.
Oh,
Steve, the season will be over soon. Don't worry. For you, I know it ended in January, but
January 18th. He's got the date written down.
Yes, I know. But look, if we're going to get future games between Sorokin and Shesterkin, it's going to be fun.
There's going to be a lot of those. There's going to be a lot of those. So the Rangers, 64 games played, 40, 19, and 5 overtime losses for 85 points, 6-4 of the last 10. The weekend itself, if you're a Ranger fan, you had to feel good, even though Sunday was like just insanely scary to watch. But you got to take your hat off to Georgiev. He held him in the game.
Stole the game.
He stole the game for the Rangers.
We just said Sorokin stole the game. Georgiev stole Sunday.
And the hockey gods come back once in a while and give one back to you. So the Tampa Bay game, another playoff game, Mike. That was a fantastic game to watch. I'm so glad I stayed home. I didn't have a gig. I didn't have anything. Channel 7 national TV. I thought the angles are terrible watching ESPN. Yeah. These overhead angles are so weird.
Well, they give you let me I don't disagree with what you're saying because they do too many of them.
Yeah.
What I like is the different points of view that give you an angle of the entire ice surface, which is what you get when you see a game live. I really like that. But then ABC just tries to make you seasick by switching back and forth to different angles, and then you lose track of the freaking puck. So if they could tone it down a bit, they'd be much better off. But I don't hate all the angles. be a little more judicious in how you use them.
Right.
That's fair.
I thought the announcing was pretty good. I think Ferraro's good.
I
Ferraro's
love Ray
good.
Ferraro.
I think
love
he's
Ray
great.
Ferraro.
He gives you a player's perspective. He was really praising both teams for the work they were putting in the game. He really had a good take on the game. And let's face it, the Rangers, you face a team that's got talent and speed on the penalty kill, the Rangers are going to have problems because with that speed and that puck attack, they had problems trying to string together passes for the power play. But at the end of the game, they did make the right play, and Zibanejad scored with 16 seconds left. And, I'm sure you jumped up and down, Mike, because I did. And I pointed at the TV and I was telling Cooper to fuck off, and it was great. But I thought the way they moved the puck at the end, they
I know
really
right now you're a little PO'd at Panarin. And I understand it.
Yeah.
I really do,
Oh, yeah.
John. I'm not disagreeing with it. But I will say sometimes you got to live with some of the shit he does, because that pass he gave Zibanejad, a handful of players in this world could make that pass.
Exactly.
So you live with some of it. Again, you wish he were a little more intelligent in how he does that. A couple of dump and chase plays would be nice to add to the repertoire. I get it.
Nice pun.
Thank you very much. I always try to be a little witty, but in terms of Panarin, you live with that because he's capable of making that type of pass to win that type of game, and that was a playoff game. That again, as a Ranger fan, you feel really good about this team winning a game against a healthy, complete Tampa Bay
Stanley Cup
Lightning
champions.
Team. Absolutely, and that was Vasilevsky. That wasn't
it wasn't Brian Elliott.
Goalie. Yeah, that wasn't the backup. I mean, that's a huge win, and they played a hell of a game. Tampa Bay played a hell of a game.
Yeah,
that
teams
was
good.
That was, my stomach was killing me after that game. That was old-fashioned playoff hockey.
Oh yeah.
I see Steve is really losing it.
Oh, Steve.
We'll give him time. When
we get to the Islander segment, Steve, I wish you would just call in. I just wish you would call in.
I mean, okay. You know what? I'm going to save my ire. Can we name a number one goalie? You haven't figured out that Sorokin is the number one goalie on this team yet? You're blind? But anyway, let's get back to the Rangers. Okay, because we're talking about the Rangers.
Mike, Sunday night, I know you were probably like me, pacing around the friggin' house like a lunatic. That's what I was doing, And
it's a weird game, John, because basically
I think they were so mentally tired and strained from Saturday. I really think that's what happened.
They got in literally at about 3:00 in the morning. I think it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll give them a little bit of an excuse there. But in terms of the game, it was like, it felt like a street hockey game in the sense of there was only one side of the ice being used 90% of the time, and it was the Rangers side. Nobody except Georgiev really should have taken a shower and got the Broadway hat. Everybody else, and Gallant said it. Whatever the fuck he calls himself now. I don't even know.
I still say Gallant.
Gallant. I mean, that's the way he wants it said. But he said it after the game. He's right. You know what? This Saturday night was a great game. This was our goalie stealing.
It's Julia.
I'll see you next week, Julia. Yeah, she's going to play next week. I'm going to go down and check her out.
Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Julia, to celebrate your play. There you go. I know you love it.
She's a big fan of the dumpster fires.
But go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Listen, no worries. And again, you look at that game as a Ranger fan and you're like, you know what? When the game ends, you shut the TV off because you don't want them to take the 2 points away from us. Because that's the type of game it was. That was Carolina did everything.
Except score.
Yeah.
I mean, Corsi numbers, goals expected, everything was off the charts for the Carolina Hurricanes, except the Rangers got the win. And you're going to need one or two of those games in the playoffs, John.
Yeah.
And the goaltending, the Rangers goaltending gives you confidence that, boy, they have a chance to steal that type of game.
They
That's
do.
an awesome feeling. You don't want to play that way as a habit because you will
No,
get
you
your
don't.
ass kicked.
No.
But as far as a I can't even call it a tight checking game. Or Carolina just went up and down the ice the entire game.
They did.
Georgiev stood on his head, and the Rangers stole one.
Yeah.
They got one stolen by Sorokin, and they stole
Yeah.
it back Sunday night.
Yeah. The hockey gods
Agreed.
return it to you every once in a while.
Absolutely.
You know.
Listen,
Absolutely.
I love the end of the game. I loved Vetrano out there defending, and he does have a lot of speed because he zipped by those two guys. He split those two defenders to get that loose puck to put the open net, the puck in the open net.
And we're going to talk about last night's game. Obviously,
I'm
Well,
getting
what-
to it, Mike, because first,
one thing, John. But one thing before we go crazy here, the Rangers are a faster team now than they were a week and a half ago. With Vetrano, with Tyler Mott.
Tyler Mott's a fast guy.
Much quicker than they were, and that's very important because Carolina, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, who the Rangers are probably going to end up playing in the first round, those teams can skate, and the Rangers have to be able to counteract that.
Right.
And now they have a much better chance of doing so.
Right. So we go to Monday. We're all looking at our phones. I know Mike is madly scrolling through Twitter, and not to look at Lisa Ann's site either to see what the Rangers are doing.
No, it was pure hockey. No
Yep.
porn.
There was no
Very
porn.
rare. That's a very
So-
rare day. That happens
Yes.
on trade deadline, the draft,
And
and
Stanley Cup
opening
playoffs.
and first week of the playoffs.
So madly scrolling through. A lot of deals came through that I was surprised by, but a lot of deals I kind of knew were going to happen, and I figured you guys kind of knew what was going to happen. We knew Marc-Andre Fleury was going somewhere.
Yep.
We knew Ricard Raquel was going somewhere. We knew certain guys were going places. We just didn't know where they were going. As for the Rangers, in all honesty, I hated to see Morgan Barron go. I thought the kid was a good player. We're thin down the middle, which is something to think about in the future, which, Mike, you talk about it all the time. You got to start solidifying the middle at some point, whether it's through free agency or trades. But getting Andrew Kopp, getting Tyler Mott, Justin Braun is a safety valve here. Like we said on our text, listen, Schneider's a really good player. The kid is really good. He surprised a lot of people. He's got really good skills. He's got good vision, but he's still a kid. And when the playoffs come, we know what could happen. We know what could happen to a kid in the playoffs. It's either they step up or they shit themselves. It really is what it is.
Gerard Gallant does not want to go into the playoffs depending on a 20-year-old kid. He just doesn't. And I'm not saying Justin Braun is a good player anymore. He really...
Oh, Steve. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Is Steve like in a bunker just like typing, his manifesto? And he's going to come out with like 18 machine guns?
He's in a bunker with no heat because he turns his heat off because he doesn't want to pay the gas and electric. So he's wearing a Parker.
That explains it. That explains it. Okay.
He's got a bulletproof vest. I mean, he's insane.
He's kind of like a doomsday prepper, Steve.
Yeah, looks that
He's
way.
like he's a lot of it.
Yeah,
But,
go ahead.
I don't think you get. After that thing.
I'll get you back on track, Mike. I don't think Andrew Kopp. You get Andrew Kopp without giving up Barron.
Yes,
I think.
I like Morgan Barron too.
Yeah.
As far and I think Gallant and I think Drury both didn't want to give up. Didn't want to leave the Rangers dependent on kids.
You're right.
Because on all these kids. Because listen, Fox, Lindgren, Miller, this is going to be their first playoff games.
Yeah.
And
under 28.
We take that for granted. Those two of them are 24 and the other one is 22 years old. They're babies.
Yep.
You look at the forwards now after the trade deadline.
Lafreniere and
from
Hedl,
having
babies.
Yeah, listen, baby Kako, a baby. These guys, in a couple of years, most of them are going to be Rangers, and they're going to be a big part of what the Rangers do, but not to try to depend on all of them right now is insane.
It's very
So-
tough, Mike, because a lot of guys wanted them to go all in and start moving pieces around. I disagree with that. I know Shesterkin's having an unbelievable career year, and you want to give them a shot to try to do something. I think they have a shot. Maybe not going and winning a Stanley Cup, but they can win 2 rounds with this team. I really do think they can win 2 rounds with this team if things fall into place. And they're going to have to steal a couple of games, Mike, like you're saying,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, John. And listen, I agree with they will be underdog pretty much in every series they play. But they are a better team today than they were a week ago. Before the Furchano trade and before the trade.
Can they finish
on Monday.
second in the division, Mike? Can they pull into second? If they beat Pittsburgh twice this week.
We're gonna find out in the next 14 days because they play the Penguins. They play the Penguins 3 times.
Yeah.
But even if they don't, I'm not. Listen, I want home ice advantage. Everybody does, but I'm not gonna. If they end up in 3rd place and Pittsburgh ends up with home ice, that doesn't spell doom and gloom. I think they have a 50% chance against Pittsburgh. I really do, and Pittsburgh improved themselves too. Every team in the East improved themselves. All 8 of them.
They
really.
Pittsburgh really they're healthy. Crosby looks good. Malkin's finally healthy. Letang's healthy. So adding Raquel to this whole bunch is an asset for them right now. You still got Rust and Gensel there. I mean, their top 6 is off the charts here, Mike. Seriously.
Yeah. And don't forget about Jeff Carter.
And you got Jeff Carter.
About Jeff
exactly.
Carter.
That's your 3rd center is Jeff Carter.
Who's a playoff player. And don't forget that.
Kings.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was good for Pittsburgh in playoff.
John Marino. They have listen, this is almost a last dance type of thing with this Pittsburgh team.
Yeah.
Malkin, Letang, Rust. They're all unrestricted after this year. Whenever the season ends. This might be the last serious cup chance they have. And that to me means a lot. I think that's going to put extra motivation give that team extra motivation. But again, as a Rangers fan, as a hockey person,
Steve, Phil would not leave catering. You're right. He would not leave the catering in the green room.
I don't think they wanted him.
Let me just say.
Oh, Steve, shut up.
Arizona had taken money back on 3 players. That's the maximum amount of players you can retain salary for. They could not retain salary for Phil Kessel, which is why Phil Kessel did not get moved. Phil Kessel has a $7 million cap hit. Mm-hmm. That's just too much. It's like Varlamov, $5 million cap hit. Varlamov was a goalie that had a lot of teams interested in him. Edmonton was definitely interested in him. They couldn't afford him. That goes to that point about Phil Kessel. But going back to what we were just saying about the Rangers and the Penguins, the Penguins are going to have a huge advantage experience-wise, even with the Rangers' trade assets. That's a bit. You can't substitute that. You got to go through it. The Rangers have a bunch of kids that are going to go through this for the first time, and boy, it's going to be exciting, but it's going to be nerve-wracking.
You know what happens with some of these kids? I said it, and Double A was laughing. I gave him the little poop symbol on the text. Some of these kids just shit the bed. I hope not, but it's part of the growing process, Mike. You know that.
It's experience. That's what happens. Yeah. And you have to go, and it's like Mike said, you have to go through it.
Look at the teams in the East. Carolina's grown every year. Florida's grown every year. Now they got Giroux. Mm-hmm. Toronto's done nothing wrong, guys, other than their goaltending. But Toronto can't get out of the first round. I mean, it's a knife fight. The Eastern Conference is a knife fight. The Rangers could do everything right and still get bounced in 5 games.
Yes, you can. But you could do everything right and make a run.
I thought Tampa's moves were good. Getting Nick Paul. That's a good, speedy checking guy that they miss without Blake Coleman and without Barkley. That's a good player right there for what they need.
Joseph's a good player, but
they needed something.
What they need better.
Yes, they needed something,
and they paid a tremendous price for Hagel. But you know
Oh, they
what?
did.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
They did.
But
They
but
did.
the reason they did that was the cap hit. It's just like Blake
Nothing.
Coleman. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's almost the same price they played for Blake Coleman back in the day with the Devils, a first
Right.
round pick and all sorts of goodies. But with the cap situation, those are the players that they want. They have control. And Brandon Hagel got 21 freaking goals this year.
Good talent.
Look at that
He's a
third
good
line.
talent.
They rebuilt that third line.
I said that to Frank before we were talking about the trade deadline. I said, what do you want to come here? Who's available? Because once Hurdle was off the table, that was one of my guys. Once Hurdle was off the table, it didn't matter to me then. I was like, let's see what he pulls out of the hat, Drury. We knew that Kopp was in play. We had talked about it. We knew Raquel was in play. We talked about it. Was he going to go after a big top six winger? I don't think they'd have to give the farm up to get JT back here. You'd have to give the farm up. There's no way you're going to get him back here.
Vancouver's not trading JT Miller anyway. They're in a playoff fight.
Right, they're in a playoff fight. There's no way they're trading.
They got him for another year. And it's not like he's a free agent. So a lot of players that I would say a month ago we might have thought might be on the trade market, they got pulled back.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's actually not out of the playoff hunt, but they're in a different market. They're in a very undesirable market. So they have to make do with what they got. And they made a lot of trades. I think they made a good trade with the Rangers.
They did.
Morgan Barron, I think, is an NHLer. And they got 2 number 2s. One of those could become a number 1 if the Rangers make the Eastern Conference Final.
The Rangers go to the Eastern Conference Finals. That becomes
for doing what they need to do.
So
yeah,
I wrote down there were good things and bad things about the weekend. The good things to me were the 3-0 sweep over Tampa Bay, which we've never had consistency in beating Tampa Bay. It was a great effort on Saturday. They came from behind. That was one of the good things. Georgiev with the 44 saves against the Canes with the shutout, another good thing. And the Canes really dominated the Rangers, and like we said, the Rangers pulled off the win somehow. And those are all good things for the weekend. The bad things for me, of course, was the Islander game, but I want to disregard it because we already talked about it. And we could talk about last night now, and 2-0 lead. Great first period. It was a typical Ranger first period. Good forechecking. Outshot the Devils in the Devils zone. What happened after that, Mike? I need your hockey assessment here. And Ringo needs it because he's staring right at me now on the door of the cage. Right, Rings?
What happened was the first 5 minutes of the second period were very similar to the first period. The Rangers dominated. They were playing great hockey. Adam Fox turns the puck over in the neutral zone, and the Devils score, and then they just kept scoring. I don't have an explanation other than the Rangers just stopped friggin' playing.
Come here, buddy.
Did the bird fly away?
Yes, he just jumped on the floor when I started talking about him. Come on. All right, Ringo gets a little camera time. Here you go. Say hello, buddy.
Hey.
Turn around. Say hello, buddy.
I'm watching Beretta.
There you go. Say hello, buddy. Ringo gets a little airtime with the Dump and Chase background. He's all pixelated. All right, buddy. Give me a kiss. All right. Get in here.
Isn't that nice?
I'll tell you, they have websites for Man Bird Love. So that was pretty cool that we just did that.
I'm sorry, Mike, that he interrupted you, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's okay. There was insinuating analysis by me. The Rangers stopped playing. They thought the game was in the bag, and they just stopped. And they got their asses handed to them. And they deserved to get their asses handed to them. That was the worst 8 minutes of hockey I've seen the Rangers play
this year.
In
easy.
3 years. In 3 years.
It's probably the worst period they've played all year.
It was
overall.
Definitely the worst period they played all year. And listen, the goalie was bad. The defense was bad. The forwards were bad. The coach was bad. He didn't use a freaking timeout. What are you saving it for?
Yeah, I say the same. Frank was going mental. Call a timeout, Jesus Christ! He's texting me like a lunatic.
Listen, most times I think Frank's a lunatic, but in this case, he's 100% correct. And I think, honestly, John, I think what happened.
Julia loves Ringo, AA.
She does. She's an animal person.
Just want to let you know, Ringo's brother, delicious.
Oh, stop. Mike does it again.
Ah,
Mike does it
Chef's
again.
kiss.
See, Ringo?
terrible, Michael.
I give it a
Terrible.
chef's kiss.
I give it.
I honestly think the game got away so fast, and so it got so out of hand that it caught Gallant by surprise.
I think so
It caught
too.
me by surprise. I mean, you go take a shit and come out as 5-2. Like, what the hell happened?
5 goals in 11 minutes.
And the thing that kills you, Mike,
they
make-
goal disallowed.
they make it 5. They make it 5-3, and then they come down on a 2-on-1, and Kreider tries to make a pretty pass again instead of shooting there. The leading scorer on the team. Try to put that in there. The Rangers score there. Who knows what's going to happen? And then it comes down the other end, of course, and the Devils fucking put another puck in the net. And I'm like, oh, my God. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. And the thing that kills me is that the stumbling there in that time period, they just couldn't recover, which you said. And the thing that's killing me that the coach said in the post-game conference, and I know you saw it, carelessness with the puck. You can't try to make the pretty play all the time. You got to go north-south once in a while. You have to have discretion as the better part of valor here. If you can't make the play, you got to try to dump the puck, and they get in trouble like that a lot. There's a lot of neutral zone turnovers, especially the other night. And to me, I love Panarin. I'm the biggest Panarin fan there is, but he doesn't look right to me for some reason. I don't know whether he's getting used to the system still. Frank thinks it's a system. The system's not kind to him with the way Gallant is preaching. I don't know if it's that. But you saw Fox do it last night, trying to make a pretty pass. I know the playmakers want to make plays, but when it comes to the tight checking and a playoff game, Mike, yourself, you got to dump the puck once in a while. You got to let those guys you got for the grit go in there and get the puck. Right? I mean, how else would you look at it?
Yeah, no, John, I agree with everything you just said. The thing, and this is what's going to kill this Ranger team in the playoffs. Are they built that big top 5? I'm not even including Lafreniere in that. I'm sorry, Julie. I went for the joke. I apologize. Ringo's brother is in a pet sanctuary. He is fine. He's actually getting a massage as we speak.
Well, it's Ringo's sister. Ringo was with a sister, a girl bird, and I know that female went to a good home. And I did not choose her when I got Ringo, just to let you guys know, because Ringo was very calm and docile, and I had already owned a female bird before Ringo years ago when I was younger. And the female birds are raving lunatics. You think Ringo's crazy making noise? The female bird is like having an alarm clock on 24/7 with the noise.
That's a surprise. That's a surprise.
But I know that there is some family that got Ringo's sister.
A female's a lunatic? Really?
Yeah, yes.
Birds.
Sorry
humans,
to say, but birds, humans, cats. It's all the same. But go ahead, Mike.
They get.
See, this show is so good that not only do we teach hockey, we're teaching birds now. We're a
bird-friendly show.
This is unbelievable.
Yes, the parrot whisperer.
This is going to be this is why, again, the Rangers in the playoffs. I love the talent. I love the influx of speed and the toughness. But do they have the right style of play to be successful? I don't know. I can't answer that question. We got to see if they do the smart things and make the simple plays instead of always trying to make the fantastic pass to set up a goal. They're going to win 1 or 2 playoff games like that, but they're going to lose that series if they continue to play that way. That's the way it is.
The thing is with the Rangers going into the playoffs, they can't be a team that goes in there and is happy to be there. Because if you're happy to be there, you're not going to be there long.
Not at all.
You have to adjust to playoff hockey. We all know playoff hockey is a totally different animal. And what to get to Shesterkin for a minute, and we'll get back to Panarin. If there was any point in the season where Shesterkin was going to have a little bit of trouble, you'd rather have him have it now
Then
than
later
have
on.
it going into the playoffs, because his last 5 starts, Shesterkin, and he was great in the Islander game, he was. His last 5 starts, Shesterkin has a goals against average of over 4
Oof.
and has a save percentage of 8.79. Now, that's
Yeah,
not going to
very
get you a lot
cold
of
through the last 5
success in the
games.
playoffs, but he is, could you see Georgiev playing a little more down the stretch to give him some rest? Maybe. But I understand what you guys are saying about worrying about, like Mike was saying, the Rangers' top 5. He's not even saying top 6. He's saying top 5. So, but that's where you need these other guys to pick up some slack in the playoffs. Now, Panarin, I think Panarin sometimes, believe it or not, I think there are times where he doesn't look to shoot. And I think that hurts him sometimes. Now, look, he played well with Strome last year. Could it be the system? He might be having a harder time adjusting to it than some of the other players have, because Chris Kreider does not have a problem with the system.
That's his game.
Mika Zibanejad does not have trouble with the system. Lafreniere has taken time. I think Lafreniere has played better the last couple of weeks. Maybe he's getting used to the system. But if the Rangers are going to do anything in the playoffs, any damage in the playoffs, you need Artemi Panarin. You need Panarin at the top of his game. Because if you lose one of those top scorers, it's going to be hard.
Do you think Vetrano's a good fit, Mike, on that line?
And so far, he has been. I think he's added speed. I think he's a shooter. Now again,
which I love.
It hasn't. Yes, it hasn't come to fruition yet in terms of goals, except for the empty netter.
Right.
But I like the combination.
He's
And
able
I think
to keep,
it's
able
a
to
good
keep up with
combination.
them with the speed.
Absolutely. Listen, Dryden Hunt, God bless him, but he should not be up there.
No.
And Barclay Goodrow can play with them, but it so weakens the Ranger bottom 6 when Goodrow has to play on that wing. That's why Vetrano seems to fit perfectly. And I really like that guy that looking shot first. Panarin.
Yeah. That's what I love about him.
I just want to say this about Panarin really quick, because yes, I do think the system is a little bit of a oil and water thing with him and Gallant. But look, Panarin's 5th in the league in scoring, or 6th in the league in scoring. It's not like he's having a bad year.
He's got a ton. Yeah, but he's got a ton of assists though.
Yeah.
And I think they would rather see some of those assists be goals. That's all I'm saying. I get he's having a good year.
No, I agree with you, Anthony. I don't disagree with you at all. Listen, we saw last night. I mean, Zibanejad and Kreider played sticky with the freaking puck instead of shooting. I mean, it happens sometimes. And the Rangers do look for the pretty play more than the gritty play.
Yeah.
And they got to change that a little bit, at least somewhat.
And let's talk about the new guys, because they are a little bit on the grittier side. And there's our new guys right there.
Nice.
Look at the mug on
John,
Copp.
that's a
look
lovely,
at the mug.
Look at the floating heads.
Look at the mug on Copp. You gotta love it. But
Yeah.
listen, you talk about a little bit of playoff experience here, Mike. They're in their prime type of players, right? We got Andrew Copp, definitely a piece when Winnipeg upset Edmonton, if you remember in the bubble a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Vetrano, played with the Panthers, got some experience there, right? Also played with the Bruins a couple of years in the playoffs when he was younger. The interesting thing about Tyler Mott is Vancouver's playoff run 2 years ago in the bubble, game 6 and 7 against, who did they beat? Forget now who they beat. He scored 2 goals in each game, which was his only 4 playoff goals, if you think about it. Very interesting. Braun, I mean, he's played on a couple of teams. We only know him really in Philly. And let's face it, the last couple of years, this Philly defense has been brutal. But I know what he brings
He's
to
had
the
a good,
table.
but he had a good year, John.
No, he's
Look
had
at-
a good
look at
year
his
this
numbers.
year.
And again,
He's
I-
had a good year this year.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you I'm a Justin Braun fan or that I will tell you this, and I learned this just by doing some research since the trade. Mark
Sensible,
Vlasic
Steve.
out in San Jose. Yeah, that was a good
Good
salient
statement,
point.
Steve.
Good
You're capable of
lucid
them,
point,
Steve.
Steve.
Steve
Yeah.
emerging
Lucid.
from the bunker to go to the store.
Yeah. Well, he needs
but
like
Market with Vlasic-
hamburgers, cheese, and potato chips. That's what Steve lives on. And sushi.
and
We go to
60
sushi
gallons
once
of
a
lighter
week.
fluid.
Sushi.
Why the lighter fluid? We don't know.
We don't know.
But
We don't know.
the market with Vlasic, who got a huge contract from San Jose, and San Jose is going to end up buying him out at the end of this year, played his best hockey with Justin Braun as his partner.
Yes.
Now again, that's neither here nor there. I get it. Patrick Nemeth is not a very good defenseman. He's not what Vlasic was, obviously. But Justin Braun has over 100 games of playoff experience. That matters on a team like this. It does. It does.
it does.
It definitely matters to the head coach.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Without a doubt.
And I think Schneider's going to play. I don't think Schneider is going to be buried on the bench.
No, I don't think
But
so either. I think
you're
the
gonna
kid's
see
going to
more-
play down the
more
stretch.
Braun, Nemeth.
And as we go down the stretch, Friday night, Rangers home against Pittsburgh. Sunday afternoon, 5 o'clock, Rangers at home against Buffalo, and I will be in the building.
There you go. Is Big Money
With
going
B
to be there
Money.
too?
Yeah, B Money's going to
B-Money?
be there. Yep,
B Money's going to be there?
she'll be there.
Good for her.
And you should have saw B Money on Saturday night. I thought she was going to lift the television up and throw it out the window. She
she's
was
become a
so
hockey
friggin'
fan.
pumped up.
Nice job.
And listen, on the
And
29th,
I will be going on the. Wait, let me just say this really quick, John. I will
Yes.
be going on the first ever dump and chase scouting mission. I
Really?
am watching
Oh.
Hartford against Hershey
Oh,
Saturday night in Hartford.
nice job, Mike.
he'll be our
Yes,
minor
I'm
league
I'm
insider.
taking Monica.
Nice.
I'm taking
Nice.
Monica.
Nice.
We're gonna
Monica's
we're gonna watch
becoming a
Zach
hockey nut,
Jones.
too.
You guys will have a good time. You guys will have a good time.
Wow,
I'm,
isn't that
I'm,
great?
I'm
Tuesday-
trying my best. She's getting there.
Tuesday night, Rangers are at Pittsburgh. And then
Yeah.
Wednesday night in the back-to-back, the Rangers are at Detroit. So we might see Georgie on that Wednesday night. More
We'll
or less.
definitely
I
see Georgie
think-
that night.
Yeah.
I
And
think
again,
you will.
It's gonna be a great. It's gonna be it's gonna be great. It's gonna be nerve wracking. It's gonna be everything we've missed the last 5 years.
Yeah. It's
And
all
I,
going to
for
come at
one,
once.
am thrilled.
As you can see by
I will
the
have some
overlay in the bottom of your screen, it is now Islander time.
Yay!
Who remembers John Sterling when he was the Islander radio announcer?
Yeah, Islander goal. Islander goal.
Islander
Islander
goal.
goal.
Islander
Islander
goal.
goal.
I
Islander
say this
goal.
to Islander fans, they look at me like I have 3 heads.
No,
Oh,
you're
God.
absolutely
Don't
right.
you
John
remember?
Sterling,
61
John
games
Sterling
played,
was the guy.
27 wins, 25 losses. Islanders are above 500 thanks to their 7-2-1 last 10 streak, 9 overtime losses for 63 points. So when we went off the air, you lost to Washington last week.
Crushing.
You beat the Rangers on St. Patty's Day. We talked about it. You beat Dallas in afternoon game on Saturday,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys really looked like a different team on Sunday afternoon against the Flyers. That
They
one
just
must have
did.
hurt you, double A.
They didn't have any life in that game for some reason.
And then
They
you
made
beat
Carter-
Ottawa.
They made Carter Hart look like Carter Hart 2 years ago.
Yes.
That's what they made him look like.
And then you
I mean, that happened. But yeah, and then we beat
and then
Ottawa.
you beat Ottawa last
Yeah.
night. So
We
good
beat
job.
Ottawa.
so
Yeah, it was. But look, they played a lot better. I was not surprised that they didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I think they got offers.
is Clutter
For
getting
Clutterbuck.
re-signed? Is he getting
did.
re-signed?
He
He
did.
already is.
Oh, he did.
He
Okay.
did.
Clutterbuck
Oh, so
He
there
got
you
a
go.
2 year. He got 2
years.
years.
Well, him and
Years,
Parisi,
2.5
right?
million.
They got
Yeah.
Parise for
Yes.
another year.
Okay.
Again, this is not. We said it. Mike and I were talking about it. This is not ripping it down to the studs. This is a reload. It's not a rebuild. They're going to tweak some things. There are a couple of things that they have to do different. I was a little surprised Clutterbuck didn't get traded, but again, I'm not upset that he's back. I'm not. Because
That was
okay,
funny.
Steve, we mentioned it. But the Islanders were not going to trade Clutterbuck for a 5th round, 6th round pick. So you might as well keep him. The same thing with Varlamov. If they weren't getting enough for Varlamov, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago too, Varlamov has a 16-team no-trade clause. So maybe they did have an offer from Edmonton, and Varlamov might have said, I don't want to go there, which is his right.
Plus the money.
The money's an issue.
The
money's an issue.
Is a lot. It just
It is.
And
If
you notice one thing
issue.
at the trade deadline, a lot of high-priced guys were not moved.
No, they weren't. It was
No.
more. The trade deadline was actually more of a surprise of the guys that didn't get moved than the guys got moved. Yeah, for the old guys. Again, I understand. Hey, Greg.
Oh, there's a breath of fresh
Hey,
air.
Greg.
There
My
he
boy
is.
Greg. What's up,
I
Greg?
hope you're safe down there, Greg. I know.
Yeah. There's a little
They got
bit
a
of
bad
a
tornado
little
down there,
bad
I
weather
hope.
down there.
I hope you're all right.
And
Obviously,
our
you got
only
in touch with us,
the
so
only
I hope you're
hockey
okay.
fan in Louisiana, right there.
That's all right. You
My
got to
buddy
start
Greg.
somewhere.
Yep.
I'll be ready for the New Orleans Gators hockey team in a few years.
New Orleans Gators.
That's
There
pretty
you
good,
go.
isn't it? But
Yeah, that's a good one.
listen, they're not going to rip this down. There are a couple of guys that I think could get moved. I don't think Andy Green will be back. And I told Mike in the car, and I might be nuts, would not surprise me if they trade Oliver Wahlstrom. Would not surprise me one bit.
There you go.
All right, I'm glad
Good
you
job,
guys
Greg.
are all right, Greg. But I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Wahlstrom. For every Islander fan that was screaming their heads off.
Oh, stop it, Steve.
Oh, God.
So Wallstrom might get traded. How double A?
I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because this Mike and I were talking about it on the way here. Was every Islander fan on Twitter or whatnot who was screaming for months that Oliver Wahlstrom needs to play with Matt Barzal. He's played with Barzal the last 6 games. He has no points. None. Now, the line hasn't been bad because they've played with Parise, Barzal, and Wahlstrom. The line hasn't been bad. They haven't been scored on. But here was everybody thinking that Oliver Wahlstrom was just going to become Yari Curry to Barzal's Gretzky. It takes time. But there's a certain way that Trotz wants these guys to play. And I think there are times where Oliver Wahlstrom, for all the talent that he has, and he has a ton of talent, he could be a gifted scorer in this league. But if it's going to get me the guy that I need, like if Mike says, where Mike and I disagreed, like he said, well, okay, the Islanders need a big-time defenseman. If you're going to put Wahlstrom in a trade for Jacob Chikrin from Arizona, you might have to do it. If it's going to get me a proven scorer, like a Philip Forsberg, which I don't know if Nashville would do anyway, but you might have to include Wahlstrom in one of these deals because of the upside that he has. Because there is a ton of upside. And look, he could stay and be great. Trade him now.
Trade him fucking right now.
And Steve comes up with the Slapshot movie reference.
Maybe you finally played.
Well, listen, Bellows too, but Bellows is another one of these guys that gets in the lineup, out of the lineup, and there are reasons. There are times where Bellows looks good. There are times where he's invisible.
But you don't think he should just throw those kids out there, double A, and just let them play now? Because
He's thrown Wahlstrom out there the whole year, John.
Oh, I know.
Fans always
Now,
say that, though. Fans always want
everybody
kids to
wants
play.
young players. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just, again, I don't think Oliver Wahlstrom is a Barry Trotz player. I don't.
He might not be.
Now,
He might not be, but they have to find out. And I think he's finding out whether he is or not. The point is
and
that,
quite frankly, I don't know how good Kiefer Bellows is. I really don't know how good he is.
again, everybody wants that guy to play that's sitting. Because again, you remember,
Yeah, it's
you
like a
know how
backup
Islander
quarterback.
fans, how Islander fans lost their freaking minds over Austin Zarnick, an AHL All-Star.
And Hosang.
Josh Hosang was another one. But
Josh
the difference is, though, I think Wallstrom has a better attitude than Hosang did.
Yes. And
That I'll say.
and there's rumors he's a free-spirited, bad attitude kid.
He is. That's just the way he is. I mean, Hosang went to play in Sweden. He was there for a week, and they told him to go home.
They threw him out,
But
Double A.
This thing here with these young players is that, yes, when things aren't going great, you want the young players in. But not every young player is going to come up and score every night or be productive every night. Listen, if it gets you the guy that can help us win a cup, yeah, I'm open to trading just about everybody. But you have to be realistic. The age of this team didn't matter the last 2 years, did it?
But now
No.
they're 2 years older.
Because they're 2 years older, but it's because of the year that they've had.
Yeah.
If the Islanders were 12 games over 500 right now, are we having this conversation?
Not at all.
No. I'm sitting here saying, okay, let's make the playoff push. Sparky too? Yeah, let's get rid of the mascot too while we're at it. Why not? But there are things here with this team that there are bright spots. And Mike said it to me in the car on the way here. Ilya Sorokin is for real. He's an elite goalie in this league.
Yes.
He's been as advertised what Islander fans waited for 4 years. He's real. We have 3 really good defensemen, Pelech, Pulak, and Dobson. And I know Islander fans might not want to hear this right now, but Noah Dobson's development this year has a little bit to do with Zdeno Chara. Has a little bit to do with it.
Or Andy Green.
And Andy Green last year, but you look at the stride that Dobson's taken this year, it's not by accident he's played with Chara all year. And I know Chara at times has looked old, but Chara to me hasn't played that bad. The problem with this team, this team's problem is not goaltending, it's not defense. They're 3rd in the league in goals against average. Believe it or not, even after that bad streak they had in the beginning of the season. They've only given up 160 goals. So where's the problem?
They just
The
don't
problem's
score,
on the
score enough
offense.
goals. Yeah, they don't score enough goals. That's
because they had too many guys for too long underperform. Kyle Palmieri being the poster boy. He scored 1 goal his first 29 games. He has scored 10 in his last 17.
Which is normal Palmieri.
This is Kyle Palmieri. Mike said it to me too. This is the Palmieri we expected all season. But it didn't happen. Listen, I don't have a problem if Green doesn't come back. I think Green has been good here. Green was a good player. Green was a good soldier here. You know, we went for it. And this year didn't pan out.
Yeah, for this year, it took a long time to stabilize the team.
Well, it's like you said last week, Mike, too, about Anders Lee.
The COVID.
Yeah. Anders Lee. Mike said it last week. Anders Lee, we forget that he had a torn ACL.
Yeah, major surgery.
And he took him time to come back. The last few games, you're seeing Anders Lee finishing on the power play, being the net presence in front.
Yep.
Everything just...
I would say the last 15 games, the Islanders are playing
the way they played the
like
last 3
they have
years.
the last couple of years.
Yes, exactly. I fully
agree.
agree.
I would agree with that.
Now, you have Parise coming back, which I have absolutely no problem with, because I think night in and night out, Zach Parise has been their most consistent player.
He plays hard, Double A. Still.
He gives it every night, John. Yeah,
Yep,
and
I know.
We might have wanted a little more scoring from him, but like Mike said, he was snake bit so much this year early, where he couldn't. I mean, it wasn't that he wasn't getting chances; he couldn't finish. But I have no problem with Parise coming back. The questions now have to be: is what do you do with Matt Martin? What do you do with Andy Green? What do you do with now I'm drawing a blank. What do you do with Wallstrom? That's what it's going to come down to. The question is,
Wallstrom's an RFA though. He's restricted, right?
But I don't know if he is. You might have another year, maybe, but you might be right. But what do you do if Oliver Wallstrom in a package, to get a big guy, whether it's a defenseman or a scorer? You know, same thing with Josh Bailey. Josh Bailey's had a crap year. He's played better the last couple of weeks.
I think he's a free agent though, Mike. Josh Bailey's a free agent this year. I think so.
No, I think
one more year.
I think he's got another year. But what do you do with Bailey?
Double check.
Do you want to put Bailey in a package with Wallstrom to send him to Arizona for Chychrun? You know,
you need another defenseman. You need a winger. But look at you guys. Look at the
Steve, I understand.
Comment,
Steve, I understand.
That's a fair comment.
But listen,
the Islanders up the middle are tremendous. Barzell,
Brock Nelson's a 30-goal scorer.
And Cizikas, that's as good as any team in the NHL. Your goaltender is as good as anybody in the NHL.
They have to get a guy that can finish.
You need a little help on the back end. You're a little thin back there, and you need another wing. That's not a tremendous shopping list.
I think the off season, I think he's going to fill those needs, and he said it. He's going to fill it by trade, not by signing anybody. So the question is, who are you bringing in? They might have to clear money. Right now, I think they're a little more than $11 million under the cap. But there are some questions on the roster. You know, I think they're thinking that Ross Johnson could take Matt Martin's place. And listen, don't get me wrong. I've always been a big Matt Martin fan. I love the guy. But
Josh Bailey has 3 years, $5 million a year.
Yeah. So Bailey, unless you're going to eat money, Bailey's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's got 3 more years. He's going nowhere.
Yep.
And Mike and I mentioned it on the way here too. Matt Martin, for the style of hockey that he plays, gets older than some other people. It's the Dan Girardi thing all over again.
Yep.
Dan Girardi, we used to say, was an old 28.
Yep, we always said it.
The way he played. And Matt Martin, to me, I think there's some wear and tear on his body. I don't want to see him go because I love him.
Yeah, a lot of Islander fans love him.
I love him. And he's one of the most popular players on the team. But at some point, you got to say, okay, is Ross Johnson the guy that's going to take his place? Depending if they get somebody in the offseason, is Zach Parise the guy to take his place on that line? Because you have a line of Parise, Cizikas, and Clutterbuck, you're okay.
Yeah, that's a great line.
You're okay. But the Islanders do have to answer questions. I was not upset that they didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I was a little surprised they didn't, but I wasn't mad about it.
Good.
I really wasn't. Because if you're not getting what the guys were.
They just decided to run it back. And I think, again, when you look at that goaltender and you look at your depth up the middle, I don't think it's a bad decision.
Look at it this way, okay? They called Lou Lamoriello up about Kyle Clutterbuck, and the team said, give you a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick.
Trade?
Are you going to do that? No. I wouldn't do it when I saw other guys getting traded for 3 third-round picks, and Clutterbuck could be a really important cog on a lot of teams going to the playoffs.
Yep.
Why are you going to do it? Same thing with Parise. Why would you trade Parise if you get an offer a 7th-round pick? Why are you going to do it? Same thing with Chara. There was some interest in Chara.
He's the definition of an Islander. He's a hard-nosed, tough player. Been here 9 years.
He's been here for a while. And he was traded for Nino Niederreiter, who's had a pretty okay career since he left.
He has. That was a good trade.
But it was a trade that worked for both teams. You're absolutely right. They got a 3rd-round pick in that deal that they used on Eamon McAdam. And I know every Islander fan is going, who?
Exactly.
You want to know? Yeah, but you want to know who traded Eamon McAdam for? Matt Martin.
There you go.
Lou Lamoriello traded Eamon McAdam to Toronto to get Matt Martin back. And Eamon McAdam has not seen an NHL sheet of ice his entire career.
And there you go.
And
You tied that into a nice bow, Anthony.
wasn't it?
That was awesome.
Wasn't it? I thought so.
One thing
But
we know about Double A, he is prepared.
I try to be, and look, I'm usually prepared when I'm not losing my mind. And
Listen,
If
you have no
if
reason
I'm
to lose your
calm,
mind the last
honestly-
week. The last 10 games,
no,
they
listen,
played well.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Look, I'm upset with the way the season's gone, like every other Islander fan. But there's no reason to be. This isn't a black cloud. This isn't the Islanders of the '90s.
No.
It's not. It's not going to be. We have a dedicated ownership
Yep.
who will not let us get that way.
New arena.
New arena, dedicated owners, a
Great
great
point.
front office.
All pointing in the right direction.
Everything's going
It
right.
still
Yes,
is.
this year was an aberration. That's what
Now-
it was.
And listen, you get a lottery pick out of this, which
You do,
Yeah.
which we're probably going to pick in the
Ever
bottom,
have.
but that's okay.
but
You can
that
use
does
it as a
actually-
trade chip if you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think he's going to do everything he can to fix this, and I think this might, in a weird disguising way, this could be a reason that the Islanders come in next year with a huge chip on their shoulder.
Yes.
That's the
And-
coach.
And I feel sorry for
Everybody.
teams that are going to have to play them early with the new
Listen,
wrinkles or whatever.
for
they
as much as this year has been, Barry Trotz has said this has been the most trying year. I think he's done a great job for this reason. For all the crap that they've had to go through this year, to be right now at 2 games over 500, he's done a good job getting this team back and being focused
I agree.
because they played a lot better hockey, especially the last 10 games.
and if the 8 teams in the East didn't run away,
Exactly.
the Islanders would be on the
Absolutely,
fringe
Mike.
of a playoff spot.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what they would be in the West.
It was the same. What happened was it happened at the same time. The Islanders went through that huge rut at the same time. Those 8 teams weren't losing.
Yep.
No.
And all of a sudden we looked up and we were 15 points back. And we just couldn't climb out of it. There have been some excruciating losses. Yeah, Steve, I totally agree, and I hope you're right. We have to get a goal scorer. Absolutely.
See
A
what happens when
consistent goal
Steve
scorer.
has a cup of coffee and goes out from the bunker and smells the air.
No, actually,
Yeah,
he's
he does.
actually been he's actually been very good with some of his points tonight. Really has. I'll give him credit. He's not to Steve where if I was standing next to him, I would want to manually choke him. But it's
Steve's in the bunker reading Mike Holmes.
you as an Islander fan right now. You take it for what it is. Let's finish the season strong. Let's finish over 500, and you retool. That's what they're going to do.
Thursday night, home against Detroit.
Yeah, minus
Sunday.
Nick Leddy.
Yep.
Minus my friend Nick
Saturday.
Leddy.
Saturday at Boston in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And then Sunday you're home against Tampa Bay, and
Not
then
easy.
Tuesday you're at Columbus. So the Islanders have 4 winnable games there the way they're playing. As far as
Listen,
I'm concerned.
but it's going to go back to that shootout loss to Washington. If they would have won that game, yeah, we're still maybe a pipe dream, but you're starting to make a little noise. And the Flyer loss didn't help either because they should have never lost to the Flyers.
No,
but
that was 2
It
points.
is what
again.
it is.
Yep.
But again, you retool.
So-
Let's finish
The
the season
Islanders-
strong.
The Islanders played that Flyer game like they thought something big was going to happen.
Yeah.
With losing some guys, they weren't. That was a game that
They played the day before. They played the
They were
day
just not
before.
into it.
Yeah, but it was kind of like that trap game that we always talk about.
Yeah.
You know, you got
like
that
the
game.
Devils,
it's
the
tough-
Devils and Rangers last night.
Yeah, but it's like you try to
happen
get
all
up
the
for
time.
a game against a team that's not in it at all, and it's tough for you to get up for it after you have a game the day before.
I'm going to leave you guys with this before we go off the air. And about trade deadline stuff.
Yep.
Are the Nashville Predators and the Minnesota Wild going to go into the playoffs to try to play 70s Eddie Shore Slapshot hockey against the Colorado Avalanche. And I will leave you guys to think about that for next
The
week.
Wild definitely are. The Wild may lose, but they're going to take 2 or 3 players with them.
Yes.
We're going to take this guy's leg and this guy's arm.
They're gonna bring in Ogie Ogletorp for the playoffs.
And the Indian guy. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
They call it the Syracuse Bulldogs.
Shout out to everybody on Twitter that follows Dump and Chase. A lot of my Twitter friends out there. Thank you guys very much. We are Dump and Chase, bringing you New York hockey talk every Wednesday night on the Fired Up Sports Network. I hope everybody listened, had a good time. Playoffs are coming. Trade deadline's over. We'll have some good stuff to talk about the next week. I'm your host, JT, along with Mr. Islander AA.
Real quick, want to say congratulations to Il Duce, our guy Joe, and his wife Robin on
El
their
Duce
third
with the
child.
baby.
And that's really good news. Just Joe, please do me a favor. Don't let that kid be a Colt fan. As usual, love you, mean it.
And the heartbreaker, Mr. Mike Hart. We're happy that he's back.
Yes.
Boys, I love you. Ranger fans, it's the best time of year. It's like Christmas. Hope you're good.
Definitely. Guys, thank you very much. Have a great hockey night. We'll see you next week.